we wanted a minibus when we were planting this church in Tunstall, and I had this idea that a minibus would be helpful, and I saw this minibus. It's a Renault Traffic minibus, and I think I was cleaning gutters next to this particular place, and the guy, I went and saw the guy and asked him about it, and he'd used it for the round table, I think, and he said, I've stopped using it for that, I intend to sell it, but it needs some work on it, and so it's not ready to be sold yet. And so I asked the Lord for it, and then pretty much forgot about it for ages. And then I've been thinking about a revelation that the Lord had showed me at that particular time, about there's a time to stop praying and a time to start thanking God.
Amen.
That when we truly believe, Mark 11:22 to 24, that we believe that we've received, there's a time when you have to believe that you've received.
Amen.
Now we have to understand that our faith might not be at the place where we believe we've received, but a time comes when it is. And when that time comes, from that point in time, you no longer should pray for that thing, you should thank the Lord for it.
Amen.
Because you believe that you've received it.
Yes.
And that's the way that it should be. It might take you 6 months to pray to get to the point where you believe it. Right? That's the realities of things. But once you've believed that you've received, you should thank the Lord for it. So I'm thinking on this, driving home, and I suddenly thought about that minibus. And I thought, thank you, Lord, for that minibus. And I went home, and Sue says, there's a funny message on the answer phone. There's a guy rung up and said, do you still want that minibus? Now this was, it might have been not more than half an hour, 45 minutes, since I'd said this in the van coming home. Thank you, Lord, for the minibus. And so I rang him up, and he said, do you want this minibus? I said, well, I'll pop down and have a chat. And so I went down and had a chat, and he said to me, I'll have it MOT'd in about a week. And so we shook hands on it, and I went home and I says, I bought that minibus. And Sue says, how much? I said, that's funny, we never mentioned money. And it was just so odd at the time, it hadn't even occurred to me to ask him how much it was. It wouldn't have made any difference because I hadn't got any money anyway. But I bought it. And so at the end of the week, it was coming. I was wondering where the money was going to come from. And it came. I forget where it came from. But again, the funny thing was, I asked him, I said, how much do you want for it? He said, well, I've had it valued at £900, but I think that's too much, so I'm going to ask £700 for it. And when the time came, paid in cash. And so we had the minibus. And so there's a revelation there. And it's a very powerful one, and it can change your life. If you allow the Lord to remind you, stop praying once you've got to that point where you believe you've received, and just keep thanking the Lord for it. Hallelujah. Amen. So I've started you off, so let's have some more testimonies.
Amen. Thank you.
Praise the Lord. Really, the Lord has been really so good for me, especially in this country. He has been providing since I came here. You know, when we were waiting for our papers, it was really so awesome. You know, we did have that kind of peace, you know, that everything was just flowing. God was providing financially and everything. We never short of anything. And in that house where we used to live, we did everything. Although it was a small house, but we never see it, you know, because God looked after us. Amen. And another testimony really that I think of is about Hannah. Before Hannah came, you know, I did not pray about having a baby, but I remember most of the times I will tell my husband that, you know, one day I will give you a beautiful girl. I didn't say a boy, but I said a beautiful girl. I didn't pray about it. I keep on saying it, that, you know, one day I will give you a beautiful girl. And so when I was pregnant, I found out that it's a girl. And she's exactly what I thought, you know. She's so beautiful, and I really thank God that is Jehovah Jireh.
Amen.
He keeps on doing great things, you know. There are a lot of things that I can count. Really, God has been really so good. He's doing great things, and he keeps on. He never stops doing great things. He's awesome.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I almost remember when the war broke out. Not quite like that anyway. I may have said something about this before, but some years ago I was the manager of an electrical wholesaling organisation, and the company got taken over, and of course I ran a particular division into heavy mains, as they call them, electrical jointing and that sort of contracting work. Anyway, they got taken over, and of course when the new company came in, they looked at all the departments, and they had their ideas of what they wanted to do with this company, and my department wasn't even involved in it. And of course when it come to talking around the table, I said, "Look, very sorry, but we do not need your department. We are concentrating on this area, what we call the sparky, the house bashers and people like that, the plugs and sockets men." They didn't want the underground joint, and I mean, my department was doing quite well. It was holding its own. I got a rep, got a secretary, you know, it was really holding its own, but they didn't really want that. So anyway, it meant that obviously I had to go. So I thought, right, okay, fine, I'll go. Anyway, I just, as we were sort of on the dole, because I mean, when you go on the dole, you have to wait 6 weeks before you get anything. Of course, I wait on the dole, and of course this is really the point where I started my own business off. And I was praying about, Lord, what direction do you want me to go in? I said, by the way, we ain't got much bread and milk. You know, we'll really know what direction to go in. So anyway, I was praying about 2 or 3 hours praying there, and I sort of went into it, you know, I sort of went quiet for a time. I said, well, I've been praying. I said, I better give you a chance to talk. So the Lord said to me, he said, I will provide everything that you need to start your own business up. So, and I got nothing. And also, he provided us with bread, milk and provisions. And I remember somebody dropping stuff coming down the drive, knocking on the door and dropping bread, milk and all the rest of it. It was really marvellous how the Lord provided. But the point of it was, after I prayed about it, I said, well, Lord, if that's the way you want me to go, then I will use the business to finance things in the kingdom that are needed, as you will. And I've done that to this day. Now the thing is, I got nothing. About 3 or 4 hours later, I had a phone call from a man in Birmingham who I knew from the company I used to be with. How are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. You know, not wishing to sound downhearted or anything. And I was obviously mystified because what's he ringing me up for? Anyway, it came to pass. He said, you know what we have on the motorway network. You know what we do. You know how to, what we use. Do you think you can get us the material we asked for if I give you a list? I said, well, yeah, no problem. I thought,